All right, football fanatics, anybody that's an NFL fan, welcome live to JP Football Fanatics here today, where we are going to continue discussing about all the favorite free agent and crazy trades that have been going on within the last couple of weeks. I know there was one that really has been going on for the last couple days during the weekend and such. Not really anything as crazy personally as have been the last week or so. But there are some very good signings that I feel like are worth mentioning and worth talking about and whatnot. So I feel like this is a good opportunity to kind of take the time to really be able to, as I'm adjusting my chair, to really just take the time to talk about it and everything like that. And I know it's again, it's definitely some signings that are going to help some teams out. Some signings that are definitely worth mentioning, and probably some signings that are kind of like maybe they may not seem like great ideas right now, but maybe something down the future. So look at something like positive about it down the road and whatnot. So that's kind of one way to look at it. So that's what we'll be talking about. We'll be doing all the crazy trades and talk about all the free agent signings. There really hasn't been any crazy trades besides what one that happened early this morning, in case you didn't hear about it. So that'll be worth kind of mentioning too. And then we're just kind of looking into what's going on so far in the offseason. So far, everything looks good to be for the most part. The draft's on its way. It's just around the corner. March Madness is coming to an end at some point too. So I was watching a little bit of the Nationals for wrestling. As you all know, I'm a big wrestling fanatic too, which I'll probably start a channel for that maybe sometime for next season. Maybe we'll see what happens, just to talk about wrestling and everything like that. But for now, this is football. This is my NFL podcasts. So this is what we're going to be talking about, and let's go ahead and get into it. And if you guys have not done so already, please be sure to drop a like on this video, and if you're able to, leave some comments down below. You know me, guys. I am very easygoing. I'm a guy that really likes to really talk about some really good things about football. I'm the kind of guy that really likes to talk about like anything about football in general, whether if it's trades, whether if it's free agent signings, whether if it's draft picks and just analysts and everything like that. Like I like to talk about football. You all guys all know that. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm here doing a podcast each and every week. So if you guys could please do me the favor, drop a like on the video and just leave a comment down below if you guys want me to talk about something new, some new content to cover as far as what's been going on, maybe to touch more base on what is going on in the off season. That's really going to help me come down in the long run. So please do me that favor, like and comment, and if you have not done so already as well, I like to try to build up the people as best as I can and try to build up followers. Please subscribe. If you see that subscribe button, you guys will see it as soon as you click on the channel. Click on the subscribe button, and when you're clicking on the subscribe button, it's also going to tell you to hit one of the notification bells as well, because when that notification bell rings every single time, when I post new content, you guys will be aware of it. Therefore, you guys will be able to tune in as well, whether if it's live or whether if it's pre-recorded videos that I've made already on my own time or pre-recorded podcast videos. You guys will be the first ones to really know about it. And I want you guys to be a part of it too. So like, comment, subscribe, notification bell. I'm telling you, these are going to come a long way to help me out in the long run to be where I want to be with my podcast. So with all that being said, we will get ourselves started. Again, we have one person on so far. Thank you so much for the one person that is tuning in right now at this point in time. I also posted on my Facebook too that we are live. So, we were going live today. So if you guys, for those who do follow my Facebook page, please be sure to, spread the word around, tell people about me. So that way we can build a better, bigger and better channel than what we're seeing already. So, just kind of looking at the chat real quick here. Nothing really going on yet, but I did post on the chat and everything, so you guys should be able to be aware of it already by now. I'll even share it on my personal Facebook, and maybe some people will tune in as well, which will be very helpful as well. So go ahead and do that real quick. And I just did. Hopefully we'll get some more people coming on as well. So with all that being said, everybody, we're going to get ourselves started. Let's go ahead. Let's go. As soon as I can get my screen shared, we'll get started. All right, awesome. So here we go. We'll start off with all the different trades and the different signings that have been going on. You guys can see my screen pretty well. You should be able to at least. So that's the PowerPoint. That's the slides that I'm doing. Let's go ahead. Let's get ourselves into it. All right. So the first one we want to talk about too, for sure, is definitely the Dallas Cowboys. There's a couple Dallas Cowboys um, trades, not trades, but yeah, trade for the Cowboys and releases that have been going on and re-signing. So the Cowboys have been doing quite a bit so far to kind of clean up their roster, kind of make sure everything kind of makes sense and everything, and maneuver everything around. So first things first, the Cowboys. As you knew sometime last week, I believe it was last Thursday, Wednesday or Thursday was one of the two. Um, the Cowboys finally did it. Nobody knew this was going to happen. Nobody thought this would have happened. Nobody would have ever thought that Jerry Jones would have decided that the day has come. And that was Zeke Elliott. Zeke Elliott was released from the Dallas Cowboys, and he has yet to be picked up anywhere. Do I believe he's going to get picked up somewhere else outside of the NFC? I think the NFC is going to probably keep him somewhere. If any team is going to want to sign Zeke, it's a tough one. I mean, I don't think Zeke is anywhere as good as he was his first 2 seasons at least. And he's been injury prone. He's had some injuries and has been beat up a little bit, and he's getting older too. Um, Actually, he's not really that old. If I'm being honest with you, I don't believe he's really that old. I'll kind of look up of how old he is right now. But he's the kind of guy. He's 27, so still fairly young. He's not that old yet. He was drafted fourth overall in 2016 with the Dallas Cowboys, and he was impressive his rookie season. Then he comes back in his sophomore year, and he continues. He continued to do well in his sophomore and his third year after that. Then kind of afterwards, like that, after the third year, I would say probably maybe that was just being a little too generous. But after his third year, really is kind of when we started to see Zeke not really play the kind of football that we saw in previous seasons from him. We knew that he was something special coming out of the draft in 2016 as an Ohio State running back. We know how successful of a program that Ohio State has been for decades. We know they've had a lot of success and have had a lot of players come out of the draft and being able to perform well in the NFL. But he's getting older. He's not really getting any younger by any means. He's kind of slow. He's kind of slow now at this point in his career. He's not anywhere as electrifying or like unstoppable as he was in his previous seasons. He's still the player that you want to give the ball to in the goal line, because so that was kind of like the thing that the Cowboys had always done between him and Tony Pollard. So if you watch any of the Cowboys games, you knew that the ball was either going to go to Zeke or it was going to go to Pollard. And knowing that both running backs are borderline right there on like the goal line, you know how successful they were going to be on the goal line. You'd be banking on really who's going to make it in there. And more oftentimes than not, Zeke was always the guy you always would want to get the goal line touches and everything. That's why he was draftable in fantasy football. That's why I drafted him in fantasy football. I ended up trading him away mid-season, early season, because I really didn't think he was going to produce much in this season. And while he didn't really, he still got me some valuable points where, in terms of where he's being able to score touchdowns on the goal line and being able to do that kind of thing. That really boosted up my points a lot. And it's helped him kind of gain more confidence as like a player as a whole. So this is kind of a surprise. This was kind of Jerry Jones's, kind of buddy, someone that he really didn't want to let go, wasn't really ready to let go, but it was also a very expensive running back to keep on the team. If you know the Dallas Cowboys very well, you would know that all their players, every single one of their players on their team are very, very, very overpaid. And it's because of one man, and that's Jerry Jones. And this prospect for Jerry Jones back in 2016 was the prospect that Jerry Jones along with Dak Prescott, who was drafted that same year as Zeke too. This was his baby right here. Nobody would have ever thought that it was time to let go of Zeke from Jerry Jones, considering the amount of money that Jones was signing for Zeke. And it was a pretty expensive contract that he put him on. So the fact of the matter is that nobody was going to be able to. Excuse me. Sorry. Excuse me. The fact of the matter that is that he was not on the trading mark because of how expensive he was, and not many teams, in fact, no team really that I know of, are teams that are going to want to pay so much for a running back that hasn't really done much since his rookie year, per se. What's the point of trading him? Because you're not going to get a good value out of him at that point in time. So it was the best idea. It was the best idea to release him, I think, um, just to save some cap space in the Cowboys, and then you'd be able to kind of fix up on what you need to fix up on for next season. And that's going to be obviously there are going to be some things they're going to want to be fixing up. Right now, they just got Stephon Gilmore, so that's going to be one that's going to be really, that's going to be one that they're going to be negotiating on. They have a deal for him already, so they're going to want to have enough money to pay him. Then they're also getting Brandon Cooks in a trade, which I'm going to talk about that one in just a little bit and how I feel about that one because I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about it. So when you're getting Brandon Cooks, you're getting Stephon Gilmore on your corner. You know, you have the capability of being able to release Zeke, and when you're releasing Zeke, you're also saving a whole lot of money based off of his contract and what it was. So this is the end of the trailer. This is the end of the journey for Zeke. I don't know if any other team is going to pick him up. Are there going to be other teams that are gonna want Zeke on their team? Um, there could be a couple teams that could be looking. Maybe the Bills. I would say the Bills kind of need a goal line running back. Devin Singletary, I like him. I'm not the biggest fan of Devin Singletary, but I feel like Zeke could definitely help out in the goal line stand there. He can score on the ground too. Like if Josh Allen is not able to get himself in the end zone or he's not able to throw the ball into the end zone to either Stephon Diggs or Gabe Davis, I feel like Zeke would fit in pretty well and be able to make the goal line stand, be able to score on the goal line. So maybe the Bills could be looking for one there. The Jets probably will not be looking for one. They have a talented running back in Breece Hall, so they're going to be wanting to keep him. Um, Maybe the Patriots, maybe, but I like how Ramondre Stevenson and I like how Damian Harris are a part of that team there, so I think they're fine right there. The Dolphins, no, I don't think so. I think Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert, I think they're good enough for the Dolphins to be able to get some run game going, as we were able to see from last year. Um, the Chiefs probably could use a running back. The Chiefs could probably use one. Broncos probably, maybe not. Um, the Chargers, well, I think the Chargers, if they decide to trade up Austin Eckler, maybe they would go with him, but I don't think he would really fit into the Chargers system very well. Not that I really think he would fit into the Bills offense very well either, but he's kind of a guy that you can kind of get maybe like on a cheap contract and be able to help him score on the goal line and things like that. So, maybe we'll be able to like make those short downs maybe. Um, the Raiders don't need a running back. They're good with who they've got. I'm trying to think who else. The Steelers are fine. I think they're fine with what they got. I think Najee Harris will be fine. The Ravens, they go through running backs like no tomorrow, so I wouldn't be shocked if they picked Zeke up. Um, Bengals, no, I think they're content with Samaje Perine, and if Joe Mixon is on the run too, if they're getting ready to release Joe Mixon and maybe try to trade up for like an Austin Eckler, maybe that could be one there. So they'll need one. The Browns don't need one. The Titans, no, because Derrick Henry is probably going to still be there, although there is talk that Derrick Henry might be traded too, but I haven't really heard too much more about it. So maybe they might be looking for one, unless if they're going in for a full on rebuild. The Texans, no, I don't think so. I think Damian Pierce is pretty good for them. I think they'll be fine. They'll probably want to try to draft another running back for them, maybe like a fullback on for them that they could probably use on like short downs. So I don't think they'll take Zeke. The Colts are good running backs, so they won't need him. The Jags, no, the Jags won't need him. Then you look at the NFC side, really. I mean, maybe the Panthers don't. The Falcons, maybe. I don't know. There not that many teams really that I can really think of right now are thinking of a running back. Maybe the Bucks could use him because they just released Leonard Fournette. So maybe that could be one there. But that's really about it. Like I don't really see any other team that's going to pick up Zeke. But you never know. I mean, it's still early in the offseason. The draft is still at least a month away. So there's plenty of time for that. And there'll be plenty of time to be able to get with what they've got. But I think Zeke is just, he's going to have to take a big time, a big pay cut if he wants to continue playing. Because I don't think Jerry Jones was just awfully generous to Zeke all these years by giving him that huge contract deal. So I don't see any other team making that big of a mistake of paying him that much. But like I said, maybe some teams could be using him for like the goal line touch, and I think that would be perfectly fine. And if you're an offense that can kind of coordinate that, you could be successful in the goal line too. So we'll see what happens. But right now, he's a free agent. We'll see if he gets picked up. Next, we've got the Chicago Bears. We already know what happened to the Chicago Bears last week. They traded up their number one overall pick for DJ Moore, so now they have DJ Moore, and now we know that they just traded away David Montgomery to the Lions, and now they just signed a new running back in town to help out Khalil Herbert, and his name is Deontay Freeman. Deontay Freeman was a running back last year that played after Christian McCaffrey's departure in Carolina. So the Bears were able to sign him to, I think it was at least a 1 year deal. Um, I believe it was a 1 year deal. I'm gonna look on that really quick just to confirm on that. But he is signing with the Chicago Bears. He is going to be with Chicago for at least this year, at least. And I think it's a good signing. I mean, I think with the way that they're signing for him, I think it's a good signing. I think this is something that they really do. Oh, and they also got Robert Tunyon too. So they were able to get a running back and they were able to get a backup tight end. So because I think Cole Kmet, I think, is good for this team, and I think he's going to be fine. And I don't think Robert Tunyon is going to be starting over that anytime soon. So the Bears have been making some big moves. They go ahead, they get into their trick of bags, and they're able to trade away their number one pick for DJ Moore, which is a very, very heck of a trade right there that nobody probably ever saw coming. And now they get themselves a nice little running back in there that's going to help them as well, especially with Khalil Herbert. They also get themselves a tight end and Robert Tunyon. So in case something happens to Komet, they don't have to worry about Jimmy Graham staying healthy all the time anymore. Now they'll have a Robert Tunyon who's been experienced before. He's played with Aaron Rodgers and has been successful there, and I think he'll fit into the system just fine. And now with Deontay Foreman, I feel like Deontay Foreman would be a good fit for Justin Fields, especially. I think that kind of opens up the field for Fields, because I also feel like, with him and the Montgomery mixture, I guess you could say Montgomery wasn't really a receiving running back, if I'm being honest with you. I know some people probably aren't going to like that, but he really wasn't a receiving running back that was going to catch the ball for you on like short downs. He was kind of like in a way, he's not anywhere near Derrick Henry style, but he's not the kind of person that you would want to pass the ball to. He's not the kind of person that I feel like would be able to catch the ball on like a short down yardage. I feel like Deontay Foreman is good in that aspect, so I think that's something that's going to help Justin Fields out in the long run in terms of getting another running back in there. Plus, you're also building up a receiver too, so I feel like Coach Eberflus is going to be able to work out a good offensive scheme for Fields, and given him with all the weapons that they now have, like a DJ Moore, Chase Claypool, Darnell Mooney, Cole Kmet, and now Deontay Foreman is in that mix too without David Montgomery in there anymore. I feel like it's going to be a better fit for Freeman. I think he'll see the ball quite a bit more. You also have a Khalil Herbert, who is also a speedy little running back as well. That's also going to get some big time yardage too. We're probably going to see a lot of Deontay Foreman and Khalil Herbert as well. We're going to see a lot of them too, kind of splitting time with one another. So I don't think there's really a full on starter at the running back position, but this idea works because I feel like you're opening up a door for Fields to be able to build up in the receiving game. So if you need like a screen pass or you need like a short yardage pass and you're not able to get your receivers down the field, if the offense and the defense is not allowing that to happen, you have the short yardage running back that's going to be able to make that catch and make some plays there. So I think this works out well for the Bears. I think it's also another receiver for Fields. I think the Bears have done quite a bit in the offseason so far with all they've got. Now they just need to, what they really need to do now in the draft, when the draft comes, is now they need to build up on that offensive line, which has been horrendous for the last 4 to 5 years, probably more likely 5 years. It's been one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL. And that's where they really got to build themselves up. They can also look for some good defensive players that can help out a little bit. Like, I think their run defense is pretty weak still. So I think they need to revamp on that. And this is a team that's missing key parts like a Robert Quinn they're missing. They're missing a Khalil Mack at middle linebacker. They miss definitely those two. They miss what's his name I'm thinking of. So it's Robert Quinn. They've got Roquan Smith. They also had to trade up last season for to the Ravens, and that really hurt them too, their defense. Like, the Bears have always been good defensively. Like, they've been always known for their defense, especially back in the 1985 Bears defense, where they pretty much helped them win their very first and only Super Bowl so far. So I think they also need to focus on that too, get some more skilled players in there too. That's going to help even out the playing field of the team. Like, I don't think the Bears are necessarily a bad team whatsoever. I think they have the right pieces, but they need to gel together to play like an actual football team. Like, for years, we've seen the Bears, like, for example, we'll talk about the 2018 Bears. That was the best defense I've ever seen in all the years I've watched football. It was the best defense I've ever seen. And then you take a look, you fast forward the next year, the defense is still very solid, but the offense starts to decline. Now, I know a lot of people want to blame like a Mitchell Trubisky for the way of how he was drafted before Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. And, you can criticize the Bears organization for, passing on Mahomes and Watson. But I think Trubisky was a good fit for them there. Just the problem was the fan base was getting to him at that point in time where they didn't really want him in anywhere near Soldier Field at that time. And the organization didn't feel like they wanted him. Matt Nagy's offense didn't allow Trubisky to do anything for him. And now look at where Trubisky is now. Now he's a backup for the Steelers, and he's probably going to be with them for at least another year. And if Matt Canada is still there as offensive coordinator, he's not going to gel well into that offense. So, it just depends on the coach. It depends on how the way that you want to be able to run a team. And that's really it. Like, I don't think Chicago has bad players whatsoever. They have some nice players in there, but they just need to go in there and they need to gel together to play a good team. Like, they need competent coaching, which they didn't have under Matt Nagy. They need a competent organization, which, has really never been the case. They haven't had a competent organization at all throughout the 100 years they've been around, and they need to get the right players that are going to help them at the right time. So they need the right GM in there. They need the business people that are going to make the right business decision to help the Bears excel to the next level. Like they've always been just at least a quarterback away from making some noise. So, again, I like to see Justin Fields succeed in year 3. I don't think he's a very good passer, I'll be honest with you there. But maybe with the help of DJ Moore, and now you've got Chase Claypool in there, and you get Darnell Mooney in there. Darnell Mooney, Chase Claypool, they're probably around, a wide receiver 2 or 3 mark at best. I think you're going to have a pretty nice team. And I think you have two good running backs of Deontay Freeman, excuse me, not Foreman, Deontay Freeman, and you have um, Khalil Herbert. That's going to help your team out, pretty well on offense. So we'll see. I think it's a good signing. I think it's going to work out for them. And I just hope that Fields is able to utilize Freeman into the best way that he knows that he can. So that way he doesn't have to risk running around running for his life all the time either. Well, like we know Justin Fields is athletic, but there's a time and a place where at some point you got to be able to throw the ball away, and I think Freeman opens up another option for your receiver ends. And then when the Carolina Panthers are able to get rid of one running back after, which is Deontay Freeman, they are able to sign another. And is it much better? They get a Miles Sanders. So, obviously, Carolina would have needed another running back to help back up with Chuba Hubbard. So, Miles Sanders, he's not the best running back in this league whatsoever. I'm not the biggest fan of Miles Sanders, but what I do like about him is, again, he's like a Deontay Foreman. Why do I keep saying Deontay Foreman? Deontay Freeman. I feel like he's another Deontay Freeman that's going to help your offense out. That's going to help you out in the passing game. And I feel like with this signing here, I don't think it's really much of an upgrade or really much of a difference from Freeman to Sanders. I don't really think that's really a big separation there. I'm not criticizing and saying it's not a good signing. I don't think it's bad signing at all. But I also feel like that the Panthers probably could have tried to have gotten something else, I guess you could say, because I feel like they're kind of evenly matched, and there's not really much separation between Sanders and what Freeman had as well. But I don't think it's necessarily a bad signing. Like, I feel like this also can help you out in your passing game. This also really helps you out in terms of like how to be able to get rid of the football. And if you have to go to the running the ball, you can. So I think he's a reliable running back that will help you out in like short passes and be able to gain some short yardage and everything like that. So I'm not terribly upset about it, but I just kind of thought that was interesting that they went through all that trouble to go ahead and get rid of Freeman, but then you're adding in Sanders, which really doesn't really separate much from Freeman. You know what I mean? Like that's just my personal opinion on it. Like I understand the Eagles had to find a way to get rid of him. Like I understand all of that, and I don't criticize that at all. But I just thought this was kind of an interesting way to go about it. Like I feel like the Panthers, after trading away your best number one receiver in DJ Moore, and then you're going ahead and you do that. You know what I mean? Like I just feel like that's interesting. It's interesting to me. So I feel like it's good in a way. Like I feel like it's going to help out the offense quite a bit, but I also feel like they could have done a lot more with it. Like I feel like they should have really focused more on like the receivers and in the free agency. Like I feel like the running back is kind of like the least of their issues, because I feel like they could be okay without one for a bit, and then they could have gotten a receiver. But I'm not terribly upset about that they got a halfback, running back type of player in there. But I also do feel like the Panthers are going to have to look into getting a receiver in free agency at least, and unless if they decide to trade back their number one pick, then maybe everything will work out fine. But at the same time, though, too, like the Panthers are an organization that's a dysfunctional mess. They've been through quarterback after quarterback after quarterback since Cam Newton. Like take a look at like the starting quarterbacks that they've had. They had Cam Newton, and after Cam Newton, they had a Kyle Allen that started like after Cam Newton only started 2 games. Then they go ahead and they release Kyle Allen, and then they get Teddy Bridgewater, and that deal didn't work out. So they go ahead and they trade up for Sam Darnold, and again that didn't really work out very well. So then you go to Baker Mayfield. Obviously, that was even worse. Then you go to a PJ Walker, who also signed by the way, he also signed with the Bears too as a backup for Justin Fields, which I don't think it's really that great of a sign. It's not really worth talking about there, but just something to kind of make note on. And then you go back to Sam Darnold after you trade away Baker Mayfield to the Rams, and now you're looking at Andy Dalton now. And then if you're not going to draft a quarterback in the first round, then you're kind of stuck with going back to square one. Like you need to find a quarterback for sure. That's the most important position in all of football. But you also got to help your quarterback out a lot. Like right now, who does Andy Dalton throw the ball to? Terrence Marshall. That's pretty much at this point right now that, or you're giving it to your running back every single play. So if you're going to run the ball that way every single time, then so be it. But they need to look into receivers. They need to look into what they can get at free agency. Like they could have gotten like a Paris Campbell. And by the way, the Giants took Paris Campbell, or they really could look into getting someone like an Adam Thielen right now. Like they could have gotten that, or they could have gotten a Brandon Cooks from Houston. Like there's a lot of things that they need to fix up on before they get a running back. Like the running back was never really the issue. It's more of a now you're trying to find like a new serviceable receiver that's going to help your offense out is what I'm really looking at. So we'll see if this deal kind of works out. I think it's going to. I'm not terribly disappointed in it, but I feel like the Panthers could be doing a lot more with helping out with what they can, especially if they're using Andy Dalton as the veteran guy in the locker room, and then they're looking to get a quarterback maybe in the first round with their first pick overall, whether it's Bryce Young, Bryce Young, or Anthony Richardson, or what's another one that's out there? CJ Stroud. Then, you want to be able to build a team up now already with veterans to help your young QB out, is what I'm saying. And then the Panthers were able to sign from a running back to a tight end. So Hayden Hurst, I like this signing. I think Hayden Hurst is going to be very good for Carolina. I think he's also going to help out whoever this quarterback is, whether it's Andy Dalton, whether if it's a rookie, you name it. Like whoever's going to be the quarterback of this team, I think getting Hayden Hurst is really going to help your team a lot for one or two reasons. One, because we know what Hayden Hurst can do in the receiving end. He did a phenomenal job last year with the Bengals and helped them out significantly. When Jamar Chase went out for 4 weeks, he was a big help for them there and was able to receive, get some big time receptions and big time targets. So he's the guy that you want to be able to throw the ball to, and he's one of the first receivers / tight ends in this league that you want to put the ball to first. You want to be able to target him. So, he was able to rejuvenate himself in Cincinnati last year, and I think it's going to carry on to the Carolina this year. Obviously, he's not going to have Joe Burrow as his quarterback. That's definitely going to hurt a lot. Instead, he's going to have the former Cincinnati Bengal, Andy Dalton, or he's going to have a rookie quarterback throwing the ball to him. So I'm just hoping, for the love of God, that Carolina and all the players, the offense, coaches, everybody, I hope they watch a lot of film on Hayden Hurst, because this is a guy that's going to not only help you out in the receiving end of things, but he's also a good asset on the line, because he's also a blocking tight end too, and he's big enough to be able to make some blocks at the edge there on your line. So that's also going to help you out a lot, and that's something that Carolina definitely needed big time. Carolina's offensive line still needs some work in. They do need a makeover. And defensively, I think they're fine. I don't think they really need anything too crazy there. But they they need the quarterback, they need the wide receivers, they need a. I would say personally, they could even use a fullback too. Um, and that's pretty much really all they really need at this point in time. I don't think they really need anything too crazy for them because I don't think their talent is terrible whatsoever. But they just need to find the right time and place to be able to help them out. Like if they're not making the team ready for that next quarterback, then they're just wasting that time and wasting another draft pick where they could have used it on something else. So signing Hayden Hurst is definitely going to help out in the receiving end of things, but it's also going to help out your offensive line too. So I like this signing. I think this is a good signing here. This is something that I feel like Carolina definitely needed big time. So, and they're able to get him on a cheap contract too. So they did themselves right there. Now the Indianapolis Colts. We'll talk about the Indianapolis Colts. They have signed yet another quarterback. They didn't trade up for a quarterback like they've done the last several times, but they now signed a new quarterback in town who is very likely going to be the starting quarterback, and that's going to be Gardner Minshew, who was first drafted by Jacksonville and actually was pretty likable. He was a likable guy. He was a pretty decent quarterback in Jacksonville. Really wasn't given a whole lot of time to develop or be able to um, become adjustable to the offensive scheme um, under Doug Maroon, who was the coach there at the time when he was drafted. So but he's given another shot now. Right now, with what we've seen, we know that he was a starter before, and we know he was good, and he was a reliable backup with the Eagles when the Eagles traded up to get him as a backup. So I thought Gardner Minshew played well with the Eagles last season when he was able to play. I think he had at least three starts. I think he had three starts at least, which was pretty good for him. I know that was good that he was able to do that, to be able to get three starts, and I thought he played pretty well there too. I felt like that it wasn't an issue whatsoever. So I think that's also really good for him. So now being able to go to the Colts, what do I think about this decision about him going to the Colts? Obviously, he's going to be a bridge quarterback, as we all know. I don't know if he's really going to be considered a franchise guy whatsoever moving forward with the rest of his campaign in the NFL. But he is the type of guy that's really, he's a reliable backup as we've seen before. He's a reliable starting quarterback when he's, given the receivers and when he's being able to give him time to be successful in that field. We know what he can do. We know he's capable, and I feel like he's even a quarterback that should be starting over quite a few other quarterbacks that are starting right now in this league. Just throwing that out there right now. So I definitely do think this is a signing that's going to be used as a type of bridge quarterback until their young quarterback is ready. Like, I don't know if Sam Ellinger is going to be staying with this team. I have not heard anything about it with him staying on the team, but obviously Matt Ryan was released, so they needed someone. Nick Foles definitely is not the answer, so I feel like Nick Foles is probably going to get himself released too. Like I said, Sam Ellinger, I don't think he's really the answer for this team, so I don't really know if he's going to be sticking around much longer. So I feel like the Colts could really draft another quarterback, and I feel like the quarterback that I feel like that the Colts are going to draft, and I don't feel like it's going to be C.J. Stroud like everybody thinks it's going to be. I feel like Anthony Richardson probably would be a good fit to learn under Gardner Minshew, and I feel like he's going to fit into this offense better because the way that the Colts are looking right now, they have their number one running back overall in Jonathan Taylor. They also have a reliable backup there, the two that's going to be splitting some time with him in Deion Jackson, who played phenomenal last year for the Colts in that starting role. And then Nyheim Hines, they traded away to Buffalo last year, which really isn't really not a terrible signing, obviously, not anything bad at all, or trade at least. But the Bills need something more than that. And the Colts have a running team like with a offensive coordinator that played with the Eagles. He's already familiar with Minshew, so he wants to work with a quarterback he's familiar with. That's fine. Then he was able to work with Jalen Hurts too, who was a running quarterback and a throwing quarterback. I feel like Anthony Richardson is a perfect fit for the Colts because of that reason. You're under a new offensive coach who's a head coach. You're looking at some offensive guys that are going to be looking to, I think, strictly run the ball, as we kind of seen with Frank Reich when he was the coach here for a little bit under Carson Wentz when Jonathan Taylor had that huge year that year in 21. And then 22 kind of fell apart a little bit, and the team didn't really know what their identity was going to be. I feel like they are a running team, and they need to focus on that running team. And I feel like if they get a running quarterback like Anthony Richardson in the draft this year, I think it's going to be a pretty good fit for them. And what other quarterback would you want to learn behind than Gardner Minshew? And I think Gardner Minshew is going to fit into this offense, quite well. I think he's going to work under Steven Schobel very well. I think it's going to work out fine with him, knowing him already as an OC and now being a head coach. I think it's really going to help him out quite a bit. And they get him on a cheap contract too. They don't really have to pay a lot for him. Right now, the Colts are in a rebuild mode. I feel like I think they were kind of in that rebuild mode since they fired Frank Reich last year, and getting Jeff Saturday, which was a horrible experience there. It was definitely a disaster of a interim hire there that Indianapolis got. So, getting this is definitely going to help them out quite a bit, I feel like. And I think they're going to draft a quarterback, and I think they should draft one in this draft, so that way they don't have to keep getting these veteran quarterbacks and these going in this carousel all the time. Like, I feel like the organization at this point would be tired of that. So this is a good starting point here. You get the bridge quarterback until your main guy is ready. And I think your main guy for this team right here is going to be Anthony Richardson. So good deal there. I think it's going to work out fine for Minshew, and we'll see how they do next year. I think they're in a rebuild mode, but they could, believe it or not, surprise some people, because there's still some bits and pieces of talent on this team that nobody really talks too much about, and it's all because of the organization not complying to what they need. All right, real quick, Tampa Bay signs the one and only Baker Mayfield, the former number 1 overall pick in the 2018 draft, who was drafted by the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, didn't work out there for the last 4 years in Cleveland, so he was traded to Carolina. Didn't work out there. Now he went to the Rams, and played considerably well. I feel like he definitely didn't. He played mistake-free football a lot of the times with the Rams, but with Matthew Stafford coming back for next year, at least from the way it sounds like, obviously starting at quarterback is going to be Stafford over Baker Mayfield any day, so I'm fine with that. And Tampa Bay needs a veteran quarterback in this division, and in this team at least. And Baker Mayfield is the guy. I don't know how it's going to work out. I feel like it's definitely another way of setting up for failure, just knowing what the Bucs do need. Last year we saw its flaws with Tampa Bay. We know it was not very pretty last year with Brady under center, and a lot of that was because Tom Brady wasn't necessarily very happy with the way that things were going in Tampa Bay. So that kind of plays a big factor in that. But you also didn't have much of an offensive line. You were injured there. You were injured defensively. You had the worst run game in history, in Tampa Bay history. You just released Leonard Fournette, who was reliable for at least 1 to 2 seasons, and then last year kind of just disappeared a little bit after 3 games. And now you got to go on with Rachaad White, who's I think is going to be okay. I don't think he's great, but I think he's going to be okay for this team. Baker Mayfield also does have some weapons that he can throw the ball to, like a Mike Evans is really good still. He is getting a little bit older. Last year was a bit of a down year for him, but he's still pretty reliable, electrifying. I think he's going to be good. He's a good target for Baker Mayfield to get into the end zone. He's your end zone, red zone guy if you want to score points. Then you still have Chris Godwin that's on this team too, and Chris Godwin is still a beast. He's still very good there too. Then maybe you have Russell Gage too. That's a pretty decent wide receiver 3 that probably can make you some plays too. Tight end, Not really sure who they're getting there at tight end. Maybe Kate Otten, I think, is going to be starting. I don't think Cameron Brate is really going much. I don't think he's really going to be returning to football, maybe. I don't think so. Then you got Rashad White at running back. Then you have Ryan Jensen at the center. And then you take a look at their defense, too. I mean, they also got rid of some of their good defensive players, too, like Shaq Barrett, which was also a big loss for them. They don't have JPP anymore. Devin White is still there. I think Devin White is still there. So that'll be okay. Um, yeah, I don't know. I feel like Baker Mayfield is not going to fit well in this system. Obviously, you want a veteran quarterback in here. You can't start a guy that's never played an NFL snap before in Kyle Trask. Like, you just can't do it. So I get the signing. You want the veteran to play. And you want the guy that has the experience to play, that has had experiences in the NFL to play. But I also feel like this team is also just not built for a championship type of team, obviously. And they're a team that's kind of going to be kind of in like a rebuild mode after losing Tom Brady. Like, I really do think that's exactly what it's going to be looking like for Tampa Bay. I don't think they're really going to be doing anything special next year. Maybe they'll be trying to get some draft picks. We'll see. But they're definitely hurting without Tom Brady, and they needed a quarterback. So I get they needed a quarterback here too. So I'm okay with that. But I also don't feel like it's also going to work out for you very well. I'm just being honest with you. As a football fanatic, as someone that knows quite a bit about football, or at least learning about it over the years, and knowing how like these deals work out and everything, I definitely don't think this is a deal that, obviously he's not getting paid that much, so he's getting paid on a cheap contract. But I also feel like they're also in a rebuild mode, and I don't think Baker Mayfield is really going to be the guy. I think at this point now in his career, he is the journeyman. So he'll be here as a bridge quarterback for a bit, and then they move off of him until they get their next guy, is really what it is. So not really a whole lot to say about it. He'll have some weapons to work with. Offensive line is still beat up, so that's never really going to be changing for him. I know he went through a bad offensive line last year, went through some bad offensive line in Cleveland besides 1 or 2 years he's had there. And he's never really played in front of a good offensive line really in his career besides one time, and that was with Cleveland. So, can't really expect much, guys. I'm just saying that right now. You can't really expect much with Baker Mayfield and what he's going to do. So, if you think this is a good deal for him, good for you. But it's just so you know that he's not your franchise guy. He's there as a bridge quarterback. Next, we've got the Washington Commanders. We'll be talking about that. And the Commanders now signed yet another quarterback after Carson Wentz's disaster. Did not work out very well. It was disastrous. Very ugly. It was not very good a lot of times. Maybe he had one game that was good throughout the year out of his 7 starts. And now they found another quarterback, and they need a veteran quarterback in this locker room. Someone that has a lot of experience. They need someone that is going to go ahead and he's going to be an owner, taking ownership of this team, like owning the team, making up for mistakes. He's going to be your bridge guy until your QB is ready. And your guy is Jacoby Brissett. Now, Jacoby Brissett, he's played through the league quite a bit for quite a while. He was drafted out of New England. He played well, for at least one game or two in New England. And they were able to trade him over to the Colts. And I thought he played pretty well in Indianapolis. I feel like Indianapolis really didn't give him much of a shot. Because if you think about it, guys, Jacoby Brissett was supposed to be a starting quarterback in this league. He was supposed to be a franchise guy when he's drafted out of the draft. And he was supposed to be a franchise guy that was going to, he got drafted out of New England and was going to be able to do just fine and be able to start a team elsewhere. And while that hasn't really worked out to his favor yet because he's been bounced around quite a bit, he signs with a new team. I feel like being in Washington for him is a something that he definitely needs. He deserves to be a starter in this league, no question about it. I feel like he could do well as a starter here. I feel like he could also get you to the playoffs too. Maybe not always win a playoff game, maybe not always win a divisional game, but he is a guy that is a winner. He is going to play his heart out, and we know that he can acclimate to any offense that you put him in. So just to talk a little bit about his journey again, he played well with the Colts. Wasn't really given like a shot to really be like their starting guy there. So that kind of didn't really work out very well. And then you're kind of looking at your next thing, and you gotta really hold on a second, guys. Sorry. I have to put water in for Ryan. It's cold over there. Can I sneak by, Jim? Sorry, buddy. I'll wait. No. All right, guys, we should be back now. I apologize again for the delay. It was just kind of something, some minor difficulties that were going on and everything. So I do apologize for that. Um, so anyway, kind of gonna kind of try to come back to where I was. Can't really remember where I was thinking of last time. Yeah, okay. So we were talking about Jacoby Brissett. We were talking about his career. With the Colts, didn't work out with him really that well there. And then he ended up going to back up Tua in Miami, and he played for the Dolphins. I think he started no, not 3 games. He started, I think, 5 games for them. And those 5 games really didn't really work out in his favor. He didn't really play necessarily all that great in those 5 starts that he had with Miami. But then he goes to Cleveland, and he's pretty much the starter for pretty much the entire year up into Week 13 when Deshaun Watson came out of suspension, and you know, um, so I felt like Jacoby Brissett played as well of football as you could have asked him to. I feel like he did a lot of things that were really good with the Browns. He fit into the scheme of, he's a guy that's going to get you someplace outside of the pocket. He's the guy that's going to be able to work out good plays. He's going to be able to throw the ball down the field far. He does have a good arm, athletic arm. He is athletic, and he's a big guy. Like he's a hard quarterback to take down pretty much. And I feel like with Washington getting them and knowing like how underrated Washington really is in terms of the running game, it works out well for them. In my honest opinion, I think it works out well for them that they got someone like Jacoby Brissett to be as like the veteran guy to go in there and be able to start for this team. So obviously, people were thinking that was going to be Sam Howell's team, and I think that's what Ron Rivera was kind of looking into. I think the whole organization was thinking that, but they realized they needed someone else that was going to kind of step in and be able to make some plays and be able to like be a leader in this field because obviously Carson Wentz wasn't really the answer for them. They were paying him way too much money to begin with after they traded him with Indianapolis, and that really didn't work out well at all. And paying him all that money, and now they lost out on all that money. So now getting Jacoby Brissett on a pretty decent contract. I think he's getting a $10 million contract, I believe, for 2 years, I believe. I'll kind of look into that real quick. But it works out well. I think this is a good signing. This is something that's going to work out well for them. I feel like they could be like a sub. They could be like a sub 500. Maybe they just get above 500, maybe, and maybe qualify for the playoffs. Like I feel like this team definitely wouldn't be too far away from qualifying for the playoffs, or at least getting into the playoffs. I feel like that's not a something that would be something unheard of with this team. Last year they were right there. They were hanging on with Taylor Heineke, and Taylor Heineke was doing awesome. With this team, he played a lot better than Carson Wentz did in his time, in Washington. So, you know, obviously, obviously that says a lot there. And now you're getting Jacoby Brissett that's going to fit into your system well. He's going to go in there. He's going to make some big plays. He's going to be able to be like your running quarterback that's like, he's going to play well under like, with good running backs and playing alongside with like Antonio Gibson, who's still there as far as I know, Brian Robinson. That might be the future for the team. Maybe he'll turn into something special. And then he's also got some good, starting receivers there too. Like for example, he's got some weapons he can work with. Jahan Dotson is a young rookie guy that came out of the draft last season, and I think he's going to gel well with this team. You got De'Ami Brown, that's a pretty good like deep threat down the field, and then you've got Terry McLaurin. You got a pretty decent offensive line. I think this offensive line does not get the credit that they deserve. I feel like they played really well last year in terms of offensive line goes. And you got Terry McLaurin, you got all the running backs that you need, and then you got Jacoby Brissett that can make is pretty reliable when he's on the ground. So it works out really well. It works out both ways, and I'm excited for this. I think this Washington team can be at least a 500 team, maybe just above, and they could probably qualify for the playoffs. I mean, if you look at the rest of the NFC right now, with what it looks like right now, with Aaron Rodgers, who could be possibly leaving Green Bay, that you're probably going to rule Green Bay out already without him. You'll rule them out of the playoffs. You've also got the Bears. Maybe they'll be missing the playoffs as well. I think they're still at least a year or two away, a couple of years away from, stepping up to the plate. Then you kind of look at the NFC South, but like at least one of those teams are going to get out of there, get out on top and be able to make the playoffs there. So, and then you're looking at the NFC West there. Seattle could be a dark horse that could be well-rounded team. You've got San Francisco that's going to be going to be hurting without a quarterback until Brock Purdy starts. So we'll see what happens there. Arizona's going to be bad next year. I feel like the Rams are going to kind of still be in a rebuild mode, so I don't expect them to really do all that much next year, even with getting Cooper Kupp and Stafford back. And then you got the whole NFC East. The Eagles, Cowboys, Giants, Commanders, they all could make the playoffs next year. And I think Washington has the best shot of being able to do that. So, or at least Washington will be at least the team that's going to be in the conversation for probably getting like the last spot in the playoffs. And that's really no exaggeration there. So, good signing. I wish Jacoby Brissett well. I think this is going to work out well for them. I think they're going to be a pretty decent team heading into next year. All right, the one that everybody's been waiting for. You've got Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks is a Dallas Cowboy now. So what do the Houston Texans get out of the deal with Brandon Cooks? Well, Brandon Cooks is a guy that, has been very good. He's been bounced around the league for a little bit now. Who's played for the Saints. He's played for the Patriots. He's played for the Rams. He's played for the Texans now. I think he was with if I'm not mistaken, I believe he was with the Patriots at least twice, I think. I'm not entirely sure, but I'll kind of look into that in just a second. So he's played for the Saints. He's played for the Rams. He's played for the Texans. So, now this is his fifth team overall that he's playing for. I felt like he played with the Patriots a lot more than that. But could be mistaken. So why did the Cowboys get Brandon Cooks after getting T.Y. Hilton last year? Does this really help out their offense quite a bit? Do I think it's going to help out the offense with Dak? Is it going to help them win a Super Bowl? Like, what's going on? What was the whole point of signing Brandon Cooks? Well, they get Brandon Cooks for Houston. They only got a 5th round pick for this year and a 6th round pick for next year. So really, you don't get a whole lot out of that one when you're kind of looking at it in a way. Brandon Cooks is still, an electrifying receiver. He's still one of your better receivers that are on the team. Obviously, I think he's I think he's definitely like a one up over Michael Gallup. I feel like he's also a player that's going to be, I think he's good like down. I think he's like a good short route runner, and I feel like he's also going to be like the main target. At least him and CeeDee Lamb are going to be competing for who's going to be the main target in the red zone, because I think that's where Brandon Cooks has definitely been, very successful as of late, is in terms of being like inside like the red zone and everything like that. So, and that's pretty much shown since he's been drafted into the league. So he's really good. I feel like this is it's a good enough signing. I feel like the Texans kind of got robbed out of this. I feel like they definitely could have gotten a lot more than a 5th and 6th round pick. A team that's kind of that's right now, they're in a rebuild mode right now. So they're trying to go ahead and they're trying to make the best team that they possibly can. They're trying to look for possibly their next quarterback, because I don't think Davis Mills is going to be their guy heading into next year. And I think for them to only receive a 5th and 6th round pick for this year and next year, I really think it's kind of a waste. I think they definitely could have gotten a lot more for him, but the Cowboys got who they really thought they were going to need. I mean, T.Y. Hilton is good enough, but he is older now. And Brandon Cooks is right around there, too. He's about to approach the age of 30, at least this year, too. So he's definitely up there. But someone like a T.Y. Hilton is getting older. He's not really anything. He's not really that reliable anymore at age 33. He's, struggled. in recent years, and that's kind of why Indianapolis couldn't really keep him much longer anymore because he just wasn't really being reliable. He wasn't really a reliable receiver like he was in years past, and he was supposed to be like the top notch, top guy in the draft in 2012. And I'm not saying that he hasn't done anything special. He's obviously been a big part, but he's a guy that's kind of older now. He's not really anywhere where he used to be. He's not he's not the same old guy. Obviously, he's getting older. Injuries have definitely hindered over him. And Brandon Cooks, who's had some injuries in his time, but very limited to in comparison to what T.Y. Hilton has gotten. And again, nothing against T.Y. Hilton at all, but I think this is definitely an upgrade for them, and I think it helps the offense out for the Cowboys quite a bit. The Cowboys have done some good things in this offseason free agency so far. They got Stephon Gilmore in a trade with Indianapolis. They just released Zeke. They get another receiver. Now we just have to see what they're going to do in terms of like, are they going to take up to the next level now? Like, are they trying to work for a Super Bowl? Because they can't keep just going like these circles with Jerry Jones. They can't keep going in these circles and expect nothing to come out of it too. So, like, for example, they need to continue to build around Dak Prescott. They need to be able to build around a team that's going to help him out in the long run. Like, forget about like you at this point. What is something that you're going to do to help Dak, prove Dak that he is the franchise guy? He is the guy for the Cowboys. You have to be able to prove that time and time again, and you have to give him the right stuff at the right time, and you have to give him the right coaching and the right play calling too. They need to look for that right play caller that's going to be able to adjust to Dak's needs. And you also need a GM. You also need the guy that's going to be able to get you what you can. Brandon Cooks is going to be that good third option for Dak. I think he's going to be competing quite a bit with CeeDee Lamb of who's going to be the main target in the red zone. I mean, the ball could really go to anybody. It could be handed off to Tony Pollard to get in for a touchdown. You could also think about like CeeDee Lamb, who could also get in a screen pass and get in for a touchdown. And Brandon Cooks now gives you that reliability of getting yourself in the red zone for a touchdown. And then you look at Michael Gallup, who's been hindering with injuries as well. He's also getting older too. So, but I think Michael Gallup still has at least another season or two left in him that's going to be serviceable enough for Dak. But like these are like signings now where you have to really think about like, how are we going to help you succeed to the next level? And Brandon Cook starts there. Defense, you got to start there too. You get Stephon Gilmore, you get Brandon Cooks. It's awesome. I think it's a good enough signing, but I also feel like the Texans kind of got ripped off out of it. If I was any other team though too, I feel like I would have definitely tried a lot harder to get a better deal. Like I feel like the Bills were a team that should have gotten like really pursued at getting Brandon Cooks because obviously who does the Bills have? They have Stephon Diggs and they have Gabe Davis, and nobody knows where he is half the time. He's not the most reliable number two. He's not probably not even always a number three there. So I feel like that would have taken that separation and that pressure off of Diggs if you would have gotten Brandon Cooks. And the Bills also need another running back too. Like I said before, if Austin Eckler becomes available, the Bills should jump right on it and get Austin Eckler because that's going to be your Super Bowl winning team. If you're going to go in and win a Super Bowl, you got to get yourself a running back. You got to get yourself another receiver. I personally would think you would want to update coaches too. I think you want to upgrade them, and you also want to upgrade on that defense too because you also need some depth there too. With the players that you keep resigning and everything, they're players that are getting hurt all the time. And that's why you fall apart at the end of the year. Like you can't do that. You've got to start building up some depth, especially if you want to be the guy that wants to win the Super Bowl. Like the Bills. The Bills want to win a Super Bowl. That's why they should have gotten a Brandon Cooks. But I'm not terribly upset about this signing here. I don't think this is a bad. Well, it's definitely obviously the Cowboys are going to win this trade no matter what. But the Texans definitely should have pursued to exceeded for a lot more than just a fifth and sixth round pick because Brandon Cooks is definitely worth way more than that. Next, you've got the Patriots. So the Patriots, I know a lot of people excuse me, a lot of people are very upset about this one. Well, one of them at least, and we'll talk about them. So obviously, Juju Smith-Schuster, we know he's done some excellent things with the Steelers over the years. Last year, he was, a good enough help for the Chiefs. Now you're looking at him as a New England Patriot, and as well as Mike Gesicki from the Dolphins. You're now looking at two players that are going to help you out a lot on your offense. A lot of people don't like the way that Juju is being signed on with the New England Patriots. So I'm going to talk about Juju first quite a bit because that's kind of the one, like, the most controversial one that a lot of people are kind of like, questioning and head scratching around and everything. But Smith Schuster is getting a 3-year deal, and he's getting paid $33 million. Okay, so for 3 years, you're getting paid 11 million a year. Okay, so for 3 years, so you're under a contract with New England, and you're going to do just fine there. Now, do I think Juju is worth that much money? Do I think he's worth $33 million? No, I don't. I think this contract is definitely. I think the contract itself is way too much. Obviously, you want to keep a receiver in here until you get like a nice, solid number one receiver for the Patriots. But dude, $33 million, that's a lot of money for this guy. I really think because the Chiefs didn't even pay him that much. Like, I think that's a lot of money to sign for a guy that, obviously he has a Super Bowl ring now with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. But I don't know, man. I feel like 33 million is just a lot of money though. I'm definitely not upset about the signing in terms of getting Juju. Like, I definitely think he's going to help separate this offense a lot. He's definitely an upgrade over Jacoby Myers. But I don't know, man. I mean, I feel like this is a lot of money that I feel like they're probably going to end up regretting at the end of the day afterwards, because it's just a heck of a lot of money for the Patriots to just sign away for a receiver for that much, who for a lot of other teams at this point in his career probably wouldn't be like a number one receiver anymore. He'd probably be at like a 3 or 2 at most. Like, I just think that's a lot of money to be signing this guy. But again, I'm not the GM. I'm not Bill Belichick. What do I know about that? But does it help out their offense? 100% it does. You better believe it. And now Mac can kind of rely on who can get what. And you also got to kind of remember too about the injuries and everything that goes through with Juju. So you got to have to be mindful of that. So 33 million definitely has proven that that's too much money. And as far as getting Mike Gesicki, the Dolphins did not want Mike Gesicki on their team. Let's be honest with you there. They didn't really want Mike Gesicki. I don't feel like they really gave him enough options or enough chances to be acclimated into the Miami offense. I feel like now going to New England, I think it's definitely an upgrade over. I mean, I think it's definitely better than Jonnu Smith. I think Jonnu Smith at this point now is older. He's not anywhere as good as he was when he was with Tennessee. So that didn't really upset me at all as far as when they released him. And I think I think Gesicki is gonna fit well into the New England territory. I think he's gonna fit in well. He's gonna get with what he wants, and he'll fit into the system well. I think he's gonna work well with Mac Jones. And again, he's also a good blocking tight end too, which is something that the Patriots needed a lot of help with, is the line. They needed a lot of help there. And I think they're doing just that there by getting Gesicki. So I think they're two signings I'm not disappointed in at all. But I think as far as Juju goes, I think that's a lot of money to be signing him. And then with Gesicki getting him too, I think, you're getting him on a cheap contract for like $6 or $7 million. You get him for a cheap contract, have him around for a couple of years, see what he can do. And if he's not good with it this year, then you just cut him and look for somebody else. But I think he's going to fit fine with Bill Belichick's offense. I think he's going to do what he can to be on the receiving end of things. So I'm definitely not disappointed there. So two good signings there, but I just think money definitely plays a big factor in that. How many do I have? All right, I only have two more. Okay. So next we have a backup. I'm not going to take a whole lot of time talking about it, but the Eagles signed a quarterback that is going to fit into their system very, very well as a backup, and we'll see how he does as the backup role. And that's Marcus Mariota, who is a signing as a backup for Jalen Hurts. So not talking a whole lot about there. Marcus Mariota was given another shot last year to start for the Atlanta Falcons. We all saw how that turned out. It didn't really work out in their favor. It didn't really go anywhere as like we would have liked for them to have gone. But I also do think that this definitely could have. I feel like with the backup role though too, I think he's also going to learn to in a backup role. Like that's nothing to be ashamed of. Like you can kind of be. Hold on a second, guys. Sorry, I'm getting a text coming through, so just give me 1 second, please. I apologize. Um, Sorry about that, guys. So I think getting this backup for with Mariota to back up Jalen Hurts is very good. I think it's definitely going to help out a lot, but it's also a reliable kind of backup, if you know what I mean. Like, obviously, he wasn't a very good starter at that point last year. I thought he played well for the most part. Like, I didn't think he played terrible, but I also did feel like there were moments where he kind of had like glimpses of like being the old Marcus Mariota, where he wasn't really making like good deep throw passes. He isn't very good in the pocket, and he kind of isn't. He isn't always the most accurate either. Sometimes he can be, but he's a good running quarterback. Like he's a good runner outside of the pocket. He can make some scrambles outside with his feet. So he's a good backup to have. And I think him being the backup with Jalen Hurts is going to be, I think it's going to be something that's going to be worth sticking around to because I feel like too at that point, like you can kind of go in like the Raiders mode, like how the Raiders gave Marcus that time of being like the backup there for 2 seasons, and you use him in like a wildcat formation. Like I can actually see that being the case here too. Like if Jalen Hurts isn't available to play, or if they want to if they want to sit Hurts out for a play or two, like they can use Marcus in that wildcat formation. Like you can give him the direct snap and he can be able to get some short yardage for you. Like that's how reliable he can be on the offense. And I think this also makes the Eagles offense much stronger and harder to stop because you have two running quarterbacks that are good outside of the pocket. And also too with Hurts, who's been injury prone for his full 2 seasons of when he started with the Eagles. So I think Marcus could be a reliable backup and probably could fit into the system better than Gardner Minshew did just a little bit. Like I think Gardner Minshew played well with the way that he did play last year, but he's not Jalen Hurts. He's not a running quarterback. He's not the kind of guy that's going to do much outside of the pocket. Like if he's not in the pocket, like if he's in the pocket, he'll make some throws, but he's not that mobile outside of it, if that kind of makes sense. So getting that sign with for Mariota was a good sign for them, and he's going to be backing up Hurts just fine, I feel like. So, and then the Giants signed Paris Campbell from the Indianapolis Colts. The Giants definitely needed a receiver big time, and they finally get another solid receiver and another solid signing for them. They got Darren Waller from last week, and now they get Paris Campbell. This team is going on a trip, and they're going on a big trip where they could potentially be like a sneaky good offense heading into next year. Like this is like what I was talking about with Daniel Jones as a Giants fan, as someone that's kind of been like, kind of defended, who has defended like Daniel Jones over the years, and someone that likes the way that Daniel Jones' charisma, the way he plays the game of football like on the ground. Like, he definitely needed like receivers big time, and that's definitely not what he had last year. And everyone can credit him all they want as far as how well he played last year. But the reason why he played as well as he did last year was because of Brian Dable. Was the biggest reason, and the really the only reason why he played as well as he did was because of Brian Dable, and with no reliable or not a lot of depth receivers in New York. So Paris Campbell, he's probably not a number one receiver on any team personally, but he is a slot receiver that's going to play in the slot well. He is a good short route runner, can make some plays here and there, and especially in tight windows too. And I feel like this is like a something that's going to fit well with him, and so I'm excited about that. And it's also another target for Daniel Jones, another veteran receiver that he's going to have on his team. He's got Darren Waller now. He's got Paris Campbell that's going to help him out too. And you got a couple other good receivers too. Like I know you got Isaiah Hodges, who was probably one of the better ones from last year, and you can use him well. So it's going to work out well. I feel like it's going to be fine. I feel like the Giants are kind of flying under the radar now at this point right now with what they've been doing so far in free agency and what they've done so far with these trades. I feel like they're getting into the right direction now, and it's something that they haven't had within the last 11 years since they've won their very last Super Bowl. Am I saying they're going to be a Super Bowl favorite next year? Probably not, but they're going to be at least a playoff team that can play well within the NFC. Besides like teams like in their own division, and like Seattle's probably going to get better next year. San Fran and Detroit maybe it's going to be kind of up there. Like, what other teams really out there are the Giants going to be competing with next year? And why can't they make the playoffs? Like, that's just something that you have to really think about in terms of that. So, with all that being said, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Really does mean a lot. Again, I apologize that we did have a little bit of a delay there. With earlier with a little interruption that was going on. So, I do apologize for that. But I do want to thank you guys for taking the time to tune in, listening in to what I have to say and all the free agencies. And, maybe it wasn't really as detailed as normal, but I'm getting better at this. I want to get better at it, and I want to just keep entertaining you guys and being able to talk with you guys about football. So thanks for that. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have not done so already, please be sure to drop a like on this video and leave a comment down below. I know I say this all the time, guys, but I'm telling you right now, okay? I want to build this channel. I want it to be bigger, and I want it to be better than what it is already. And I know the content right now maybe seems a little lagging, but I can also upgrade. I can also try to make it better, but I also can't do it without the help of you guys. So if you guys give me some requests and you guys help me out in terms of what I can do for myself and what I can do to make this channel better and the content you want me to cover, maybe more in depth on, I can definitely do that. But you just got to let me know and give me those suggestions, because I like taking suggestions in. I want to be able to help you guys out the best way possible and to help this channel out, to help this channel grow to be the best that it possibly can. And also, if you've not done so already too, please be sure to be able to subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. If you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel, you're helping the channel out grow, and you're also, you can also be able to pass the word on to other people and be able to tell them, hey, check out JP Football Fanatics. He's the guy. He knows what he's talking about. So, and you hit that notification bell, and that will also help you in terms of trying to get the people to come in, and you'll be able to tune in for anything that I upload, whether if it's new stuff, whether if it's older stuff like pre-recorded stuff that I've done with my buddy Scott and everything with those podcasts there. You guys will be the first ones to notify, and for those who are to be the ones that are the first ones to be notified are good for me. So like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell as well. So with all that being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in again. I know it's only one person that was watching today, but the channel is going to grow. It's going to get better. It's going to get bigger and better than it already is already. And I know that just by the way that I've been doing this as of late. So Thank you guys again. This is JP Football Fanatics saying peace out. We'll see you all next time. Have a good night, everybody.